Another country that could follow in Australia's footsteps, a fellow Antipodean, New Zealand, with the Foreign Minister saying Wellington will review its position according to values and national interests before deciding next month. More than 140 out of the 193 members of the United Nations have already recognized Palestine as a state. Israel's Prime Minister slamming that move from Canberra, adding it will bring war rather than peace. Israel coming under mounting international criticism over its plans to take full control of Gaza City. The UN Security Council calling it a violation of international law, warning of what it calls possible calamity. Key Israeli ally Germany in a break from tradition, warning of a pause on exports of military equipment to Israel. Britain and other European allies are urging Israel to reconsider its decision, but Benjamin Netanyahu defending the plans, urging the Israeli military to speed up its preparations.
Israel's security cabinet instructed the IDF to dismantle the 2 remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza City and the central camps. Contrary to false claims, this is the best way to end the war and the best way to end it speedily.
And for more, Blake Sifton joins us live from Tel Aviv. Blake, Mr. Netanyahu facing his plan to take over Gaza City, divisions both within his security cabinet and in the wider Israeli population. Does he have the support he needs to go ahead with this plan?
Good evening, Wei Su. Speaking to reporters on Sunday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu doubled down on his plan to widen the war in Gaza. He said that Israel has no choice but to finish the job and defeat Hamas. Now, in those comments on Sunday, he also clarified that this plan is far more expansive than we understood on Friday. When it was announced by the Security Cabinet, we heard that Israeli forces would push into, hold, and occupy Gaza City. However, Netanyahu is now talking about them doing the same in the central areas near Deir al-Balah, as well as al-Mawasi in the south. That means that Israeli forces would enter, hold, and occupy all 25% of territory in Gaza that they do not currently hold, and where some 2 million Palestinian civilians are sheltering amid the starvation crisis there. The international community, as you say, has reacted with outrage to this plan. At an emergency session of the UN Security Council on Sunday, they called it reckless, said it would violate international humanitarian law. Countries called it an act of collective punishment. There's also been substantial opposition to this plan here in Israel. The family members of the hostages still held in Gaza have called this a death sentence for their loved ones because they believe that as Israeli forces enter new areas, Hamas may execute the hostages. They held very large protests here and across the country on Saturday, and they are now calling for a general strike to shut the country down next Sunday in order to urge the government not to go forward with this plan. We also understand that the Israeli military is opposed to this plan, fearing that a high number of Israeli soldiers will die in fighting in Gaza City and some of these other urban centers. And also there's been concerns about exhaustion and fatigue amongst Israeli soldiers. And we're also hearing that members of Benjamin Netanyahu's ruling coalition, far-right members, are against this as well because they feel it doesn't go far enough. And they're worried it's a ploy to pressure Hamas back to the negotiating table. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is under an extraordinary amount of pressure from all sides, but he does seem intent on pushing forward with this plan.
Oh, Blake, certainly not helping with this pressure, the killing of at least 5. We hear 5 from one media organization and one freelance reporter from Israeli strikes in Gaza. What more details do you have on these deaths?
That's right. So this strike targeted a tent near Shifa Hospital in Gaza City and killed Anas El-Sharif, a correspondent with Al Jazeera, as well as 4 other Al Jazeera staff members. The Israeli military accused him of being a member of Hamas. They said he was in charge of a unit tasked with launching rockets. In recent weeks, Al Jazeera had raised the alarm, said his life was at risk We heard from the United Nations and the American Press Freedom Group, the Committee to Protect Journalists. They urged the international community to protect him. They said that Israeli claims against him were unsubstantiated. Now, we need to remember that these deaths are only the latest in a long string of journalist deaths in the war in Gaza. The Committee to Protect Journalists says 186 members of the press have been killed in Gaza. A study by Brown University showed that Gaza is the deadliest conflict in history for journalists. And not only that, they say more journalists have been killed in this conflict than were killed in World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the war in Afghanistan, and the wars in Yugoslavia combined.
Thanks, Blake Sifton there reporting live from Tel Aviv.